The first half of your life you spend trying to make a living, providing for your family, raising kids, what have you. Then you get to halftime, and I'm halftime or even a little past halftime. The next piece of your life, you work to build a life of significance. And that is giving to others to help them be better. And I think people like you and I who've been in the business a really long time, there's a responsibility for us to help train up the next generation of people who are going to serve in this industry, because we cannot be Autobots. We cannot, AI cannot do what we do. I don't care what you're hearing. AI is a tool, and AI cannot be you as long as you bring value.
Hey guys, Wally Elibiary. All right, so what is 24/7 mindset? Most times when you hear 24/7, you're thinking what? 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, just grinding, hustling. I learned over time, a 24-year career in mortgage and multiple other businesses that I own, is unfortunately, you'll get burnt out. I became an absent father, I became an absent husband, and I became a poor business leader because I was trying to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, trying to build a business, maintain a business. When I learned how to work smarter, not just harder, by doing things the best way it could be done, instead of just simply doing my best, I learned how to work only 24 hours a week, 7 months a year, while I got paid from the business residually 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can do the same. Welcome to the show. All right, so we are live, 24/7 Mindset. Thank you so much for joining the podcast show. One of the biggest things I want to give back on this next chapter of my career. Won all the awards that I feel like I needed to win. My career has worked out great. But my biggest thing is finding other loan officers' special gifts and bringing that to life so all us loan officers can learn from each other. One of the biggest excitement I have this week, especially Leslie Bergen. So Leslie's joined us in the show. Leslie and I go back, 12, 15 years or so. We used to work at the same mortgage company together. And she drove in all the way from El Paso once to do a site visit with me. But what's super cool was she gave me a really awesome butterfly tie, I guess, that I've never worn, but I've always had. It's a special gift I keep in my office, and I've had that north of 10 years. So thank you so much, Leslie, for your friendship, your wisdom, and being on the show.
It's always fun to be with you. I always learn something, and we always can have an amazing conversation about how do we serve more. And I love that about collaboration.
Yeah.
So thanks for doing this. I follow you. I follow your book. I'm just super proud of all the things you've done. And wow, you've just created an amazing platform for loan officers. So I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you so much. It's been a great journey. I think, origination was a great chapter in my life. I think now in the leadership and in owning a mortgage company and owning a coaching company, and that to me is so much more rewarding. I think
you've done a little bit of everything.
Yeah. I think for the rewarding aspect of seeing light bulbs, we go through a cycle as parents, and I'm going through the early stages of empty nester. And when my two sons were 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, I was like the coolest person on earth. As they got to like age 13, 14, 15, it was like the NFL players or whatever. And now they're 19 and 18, they think they know everything. Well, I think a loan officer's journey is very similar to that. What I'm enjoying so much right now is seeing loan officers have ahas, seeing loan officers learning new things, seeing loan officers evolving and being that modern mortgage loan officer. It's been very rewarding to see that experience.
Especially in this season, don't you feel like this season has been one that's been filled with great challenges? And because I believe, I'm like you, we read all the time, but it's like, you have to surround yourself by those positive, forward-thinking people rather than I call them the Eeyores of the business, that it's a gloomy, gloomy day and, oh my gosh, the sky is falling. What are we going to do? And, I'm the half full girl. I think you know that about me. I'm very positive about what's going on. Is it hard? Yes. Is it harder than it used to be? Sure. But there's also great opportunities for you to win right now that have never been available before. And I think that that's what's really exciting about learning from each other and being able to craft our language, to where we can connect with better, stronger leads, partners, all the different things that make us great technicians in the mortgage industry, because we have to hone our craft. And I think some of the storm chaser loan officers have forgotten that.
Yeah.
It came really easy, and so it's like, oh well, wait a minute, it's so hard now. I'm going to go get a job, and I'm like, wait, you have a job. Let's really work on this craft, and maybe take, when we're busy, sometimes we don't hone our education and hone our craft. And so when you have the time to really relook at, I always think of it as a NASCAR pit crew, who's in what lane and how quickly are we doing things. It costs a lot of money to originate a mortgage. So it's very important to be efficient. And in anticipation, at least my hope is, in anticipation of what's to come, it's so important for us to be ready for what's to come while we're taking care of the people who are in front of us.
Yeah, when you look at your 30-year career, 30-plus-year career that you've had, I'd say one of the biggest questions I have around that is, when you look at that, you've seen different cycles. So I started 26 years ago, back in 1999, and I remember I didn't really understand what the dot-com burst was. I was excited to see rates start to drop, and I thought the world was over in the recession of 2007, 2008. It was comical. March of 2020, when rates drastically jumped up, I'm talking to Nikki, about my wife, about, maybe I can go be a financial advisor because this mortgage thing is going to end. But 1 month later, in April of 2020, we're out looking at lake houses. And it's crazy, the shift. But I think the biggest advantage that, us seasoned people have had over the non-seasoned people is, if you look at what happened in 2022, rates jumped up. Most loan officers in 23 and 24 pouted and then got out of the business. We looked at 23 as like, okay, the tough's going to survive. The strongest is going to survive. And then you look at, okay, mindset shift in 23, maximize your efforts in 24. And now we're crushing it in 25 and 26. What was the mindset shift that you went through when rates jumped up in 22 to 23, then beyond from there?
I think it was learning to be a better technician, one, and learning to be more technical when it came to the power of money, and leveraging real estate, and understanding how important it is for us to be able to teach that to our clients of, here's what your equity position will be in a year or two from now. Interest rates, yes, are high today, but here's what that's going to mean to you a year or two later. So really digging into that craft of surrounding with people like you and people who are very good about talking about the wealth of real estate and how to leverage it in a way that it makes sense today, rather than pausing and waiting for rates to come down, because rates will come down, but prices go up.
Yeah.
And so there's that. You have to take the time to have a conversation with your clients. And you and I have always done that. So the old people in the business, that's what we knew. We didn't have computers when I started in this business. I am one of those people that was introduced to the fax machine with a thermal paper. So that's how long I've been in this business. But I think what we learned is that during COVID, we were very transactional, because that's just the world that we were in. We were trying to go fast and just get everything done. We weren't building the relationships that we needed to build long term. And if you were like most loan officers, you didn't even take care of your data bank, as you call it. You really just got through the situation and tried to get the next deal. And I think this is the wake up call of that type of business, in that now we've had to stop, reconnect, reaffirm our relationships with those people, because we are a relational business. If we're transactional, we're not going to make it, because we're going to be losing that to, the rockets and the people who are out there just doing transactions that don't care about the people. They just are doing checkbox go mortgage. People want an advisor. They want someone who will sit with them and guide them. And I think what it's really taught me in the last couple of years is to slow down, to speed up. Because if you won't take an online application as gospel, and this is for loan officers out there who think an online application is awesome, it is great. It's a great way to start, but you've got to take the minute to have that consultation. And one of the things I did is I did a PowerPoint presentation for every single one of my buyers. And so I sit with them and I go through everything. For two reasons I do the PowerPoint. One is it's a visual tool for me. Two, it keeps me grounded in what I need to respond, because so much of the time I get to talk with them about what's really fun, and then, we get a great conversation going. And then you got to do the business side of the conversation. So it keeps me on track of knowing how to be transparent with them, how to show them the power of money. And I think it just helped us hone our skills. I don't think it's different. I think it's just, again, we're going back to basics of building those wonderful relationships where people build trust with you. My moniker is I'm the mortgage mom. So I'm going to tell you the truth. If I can't help you, I'll find somebody who can. I'm the person that will guide you in your financial picture, how to better your credit. You want a better rate, here's the things you can do. So a pre-qualification to me is an opportunity. Every pre-qualification is an opportunity. So maybe they don't buy today, but I'm setting them up for success in the future, whether it be debt payoff or credit repair, or, leveraging maybe some assets that have coming or something like that. But I think it just made us slow down a little bit to realize, yes, technology is amazing, but technology has to be a tool that we add, not that does the whole transaction for us, because then we lose who we are to our customers, which to me is what our value is.
Well, and I feel like, we're all disciples of Todd Duncan, which I like to nickname the Godfather of mortgage.
Yep.
And,
high trust sales. Yes. The high trust selling. Yes.
And
yes.
I think when you learn that, and I got exposed to that my first year in the business back in 99. And I remember going to conferences in 2001 and 2 and 3 and really digging deep in that. And Todd and I really hit it off like 2013, 14, and we really dug deep. And I think the high trust interview is such a lost art on the modern mortgage. I think when you look at the whole AI world and the, click button, get mortgage mindset, there's a huge world out there that I think loan officers can really crush it in their business and protect themselves from AI if they do two things. One, own your zip code, and two, own your database. And I think if you own your zip code and own your database, there's no AI world that can take majority of your business away. They might be able to take a minority of your business away. But being your local expert, meaning owning your zip code and being that go-to for your local network, it is a game changer. But more importantly, building residual income from your database that you can turn into your data bank that you can take withdrawals out of. But you've got to learn how to, you got to add value. But first, you've got to be valuable to be able to add value.
Right. So, you can't add value to somebody if you don't even know what they need, if you've not had a conversation with them.
So with your database, how do you add value by being more valuable in your past client size?
I have struggled like every loan officer in being great at my database. And so I've really, in the last 12 months, I did something that I haven't done and I wish I'd done a long time ago. And I purchased my own CRM. And it's something that loan officers hesitate to do because it's a financial commitment. But I am letting you know, if you don't have your own CRM, you are leaving it on the table, because no matter what your company says or does, when you leave, they scrub it so much that you will not have any of the data. And so it's just, over 40 years of building a database, it's so important to have those relationships still. I mean, when you have generational loans that are referred to you because you did the grandfather's loan and you're doing the kids' loans, I mean, it's just it's a privilege to be able to work with them. And so I have set up a system where I do the Wally system. You close a loan 7 days. I'm calling them to make sure that everything got moved okay. The closing gifts, I'm not a big closing gift person. I do occasionally will send gifts, but I am more about doing donations for the bigger cause. And so my husband and I help some of the charities to build houses. I mean, since we're in the home building business, we feel like we can donate to the charity as a big thing and say, hey, you helped us do that and you helped us get this family into a home. that wouldn't be in a home. So if we didn't have your business, we wouldn't have been able to do that. So to me, that's what we do a little different as far as give back. When it comes to touch base, then it's the 30 days, reminding them of their first payment. A lot of people are so excited at closing, they don't even read anything. So they're not looking. And I'm a big believer of remote online closings. So I don't go to a lot of my closings because I do work with a lot of military families across the country. So I can't fly to every closing and everything. So we just be very buttoned up so that they are very happy at closing. And then we're doing that follow-up piece and helping them. If they're coming to our town, we're really trying to meet them and introduce them to some of the local things to help them acclimate to our town. If they're not, we try to introduce them to people who can introduce them. So we try to make that connection. And then after the 30 days, then you're following up on your, I do 6 months just to, hey, check in. How are you? How's the house? How's everything? How are the kids? What have you? And then the 1 year piece, of course, of, hey, is your home still working for you? And if you aren't doing that right now, the people who bought during COVID, probably 80% of them hate their home.
Yeah.
They do. They just wanted a home because it was so hard to buy back then. But they don't love it. They really don't love it. And so then they feel trapped in a 2.5% interest rate, which is interesting to me because when you show them kind of what they could be doing, all of a sudden they've got all this equity, they can pay off all their debt, all they have is a mortgage. And now all of a sudden, a 6%, 6.5 rate or whatever it is, doesn't feel bad because they're looking at their budget. That's what we do. And then, of course, like you do, is you use it as an opportunity to send back to your realtors. And we do that for our realtors as well, as like listing opportunities and such.
Yeah, one of my favorite things to do, especially on the 1 year mark that we just started building out the last probably, 9 months or so, is creating a net worth sheet for the client. And we're breaking down all the assets that they have, breaking down all the liabilities, and it has your net worth calculator there at the bottom. And we're going through and building that out together. What's really awesome about that is when you're talking to the 2018, 19, 20 people that bought, we're going through this and I'm saying, okay, great. Here's your net, here's your gross, but to say you've got a $2 million gross assets, but you've got $1.5 million in debt that you got out there. You got a $100,000 car, $75,000 credit cards, $200,000 in student loans, and you've got all this, the thought process, and it's really easy for them to digest looking at the full picture of their financial wealth. Then they self-discover, hey, if I sell my house, I can pay this off, this off, this off. Hey, look, we just created another $3,700 a month in cash flow for you by restructuring your debt, and now you get a house that you actually fits what your lifestyle is instead of before. And I think with a loan officer, that's something that just me taking the client concierge process that I built in 2019 and being more modern with it, modernizing it to where it's 2025 and 26. How do I bring it to life to where now it's in this current time, in this current market, bringing that to life?
So something you said, I think, is really worth repeating, and that is understanding cash flow. And if you as a loan officer don't understand cash flow, get with someone to help teach it to you. Because when you can do that with a client and sit with them and show them cash flow, because I cannot tell you how many times I'll be a second look loan for somebody and they haven't done any of that with the buyers, and they're having them put all this money down and they're sitting on, interest rates of, 29 and 30% interest rates on credit cards and such, that are not benefiting your consumer. And so it's better to pay that debt off and then put a little less down on the mortgage. And the payment is just amazing to me how much more cash flow we can get for our clients. And if we show them that is being a great advisor versus just being a mortgage person that checks a box. And I said, you can be a McDonald's or you can be a Nordstrom. You have to decide what role you want to play. And if you just want to be the checkbox person, you're going to not serve a lot of people.
Well, I also feel like it allows us to become multiplier loan officers instead of addition loan officers. And that's something I've preached and put in my book for years is most loan officers are addition loan officers. They go to a realtor, get a referral, come back and grovel to that realtor for another referral, and they just got that one commission. What we teach at 24/7 Mindset is you go to a realtor, you get the same referral, but you refer it out 4 different ways: CPA, financial advisor, family will attorney, and an insurance agent. Now you turn that one commission into 3 commissions when you get referrals back from those partners. Now, when you build it that way, what's pretty cool about now that we're taking that net worth sheet for the mortgage efficiency checkup call, we're taking that net worth sheet, and then when we're reaching out to their CPA, when we're reaching out to their financial advisor, we're having a factual conversation of where they were before they bought the house, how we're making their debt run more efficiently, the debt management run more efficiently, because we're focused on assets under management. And then now we're speaking the same language as the financial advisor. We're making ourselves look different to them. We're earning their referrals and getting access to their network.
Right, because you're not going to just say, well, liquidate all your funds and put a huge down payment. You're going to help them structure a loan. And I think that's so important. And working like with a lot of our military buyers, I'm looking at a different place going, hey, in 3 years, when you're PCS somewhere else, is your intention to keep this home, or is your intention to sell it and buy, where you're PCSing to? What's your thought? How do you feel about retaining real estate if you're not in the town? Because some people feel really confident about how great opportunity. I think VA is a great way to build wealth in real estate. It's probably one of the best ways to build wealth, in my opinion. And as young people, especially our young military people, I mean, you can get in and I'm about doors because I know you're about doors. It's like buy a quadruplex to start with. Now you have 4 doors, live in it a year. Yeah. Go to the next opportunity, build a duplex, or whatever, and then just keep doing that. And then pretty soon you've got an amazing pipeline of income coming in, and your debt's being paid off and serviced by renters, which is a very popular way to start building wealth. But it takes a special person to absolutely talk with your military families because they are unique, and you have to make sure you're not putting them in a place that it will hurt them. And I've seen people put military buyers in really bad loans, and it really is frustrating to me. I think they're the most targeted for refinances, bad refinances. Right now they're out there telling them they need to refinance right now while they're sitting in a 6% rate now. It's like, why would they pay all that money, to refinance, especially if they're going to sell their home in a year? So they're, again, no questions are asked. They're just telling them and selling them, showing up and throwing up. Yeah. All this data to them saying they need to do it and they have to do it. I can't tell you how many of my customers call me, because that's another thing. When you close a loan, you tell your buyer, I tell them, I said, I'm your mortgage mom. So whatever you need, I'm your mortgage mom for life. If you keep this house, you don't keep this house. If you stay in El Paso, if you don't stay in El Paso, it doesn't matter to me. I am still the person. So when you get all this stuff, when you get phone calls and postcards and stuff like that, and you're like, I don't even know what this means. Do I call them? Should I call them? Let's vet it together. Because so many people don't read the fine print. And then all of a sudden you go, do you want to spend $15,000 to refinance your house? Because I don't think that's probably in your best interest.
To save $75 a month.
Correct. Or not save anything, honestly, by the time it's all done. I've actually had a lender come in and refinance. It's the only time this has happened to me before I made that sales closing saying, call me for everything. But he lost his house because they refinanced him, closed him with land-only taxes. He had bought new construction. And so it appeared to him he was saving $600-700 a month. As you know, taxes in Texas are quite high. But they'd only lowered his rate 1/4 of a point, and he didn't save anything. And then when his tax bill came out, by the time they did their review in April, May, the guy was upside down, thousands of dollars in his escrow. So by the time they right-sized that, they put him in a payment that he could not afford. And so he ended up losing his house. And to me, that is one of my heartbreaking stories of military families and where they get taken advantage of. So it's so important for you to be their consultant and tell them and warn them, because I believe they're one of the most preyed upon clients when it comes to refinances. Our FHA streamlines and our VA IRRRLs are some of the most preyed upon people. And so it's really important for you to have that discussion up front at purchase. And also, I know you do this, but at your closing, after they've closed, and your follow-up 7-day or 30-day or 6-month conversation is, hey, what's next for you? Mm-hmm. What are you thinking next for real estate? Are you thinking, investment property? Are you thinking perhaps a vacation home? If you're not having those conversations with them, someone else will. Yeah. And you want to help them have that dream. And maybe it is a year out, but what an amazing road to help them budget, plan, guide, and say, here's how it could happen. And I think that's a lot of fun.
Also, with having a CRM and now being able to have notes in the CRM, and when you're doing your annual mortgage, I mean, my first probably 3 minutes of the annual mortgage review or the mortgage efficiency checkup call is I'm going through my notes with them. Hey, last time we talked, little Billy was playing soccer. You just put in the pool. You remodeled the upstairs. You just landed the new job. All right, now catch me up to speed. And it's like they're just going blah 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 blah. And I'm looking for opportunities. I'm taking notes down of how can I rebuild the rapport that I had previously and build on that rapport for the future. And I think you now having a CRM and now you being focused on your database from that, it's just going to make it so much easier to be the mortgage mom lender for life. Because I felt,
Because you can take great notes, and they're your notes, and they're your piece. Yes.
well, it's always comical when I see loan officers have their tagline, "I want to be your lender for life." I'm like, hey, cool. When was the last time you talked to them? Last time we closed. I'm like, how are you going to be the lender for life if you're not in their lives? Like that
Right.
doesn't make sense.
Right. I mean, it's just, I think there's some habits that you do. You can use social. I've seen people create their own Facebook group for their closed clients. And so there's a lot of things you can do on top of your CRM to really create value and to really kind of understand what's happening. And you can give value bombs into that group. But as much as you can do some set it and forget it and some reminders of us as loan officers, we need to be reminded. We need to live and die by our calendar. And if our calendar is not up to date, and if we don't have the calls already on our calendar, we're not going to make them, because we already think in our head, I got to find a reason not to make phone calls. Oh, look, email. Oh, look, someone just came in. Oh, look, someone needs my attention. We're looking for reasons not to make our calls. And if you don't believe me, ask anyone in the mortgage business and your real estate business, how many people are making their calls every day? They're not. They're not doing it in the story you're telling yourself about, oh, I don't want to call because everybody's calling and I don't want them to be bugged and whatever. And I say, that's a lie you're telling yourself. It's a lie to keep you from picking up the phone, because we're afraid, I don't know, of rejection, or I don't know what we're afraid of. But I went to a coaching seminar one time, and I cannot think of her last name, but her first name was Danielle. But she was talking about where you are versus where you want to be. And the in-between piece is called the gap of crap.
Okay.
And this is where you are, this is where you want to be, and this is what you're telling yourself why you can't get to the other side. And that's so important right now, is what are we telling ourselves? What's the story in your head over and over and over and over and over again about why you're not doing action items? Because you don't need to be coached more. You need to be coached effectively, and you need to have an execution plan, because so much of the time people are not executing what they've learned. And we can just become junkies of learning instead of executing and disciplines.
When you've caught yourself in that season or in that realm, it's like we all have, how do you snap yourself out of that? How do you change your perspective out of that?
That's a great question. And for me, I have an amazing accountability partner. I met him 3 years ago. He lives in Illinois. His name is Brian Sewell. He's also a loan originator, not for my company, but just we are very like-minded in our faith and our focus of serving, and the way that we end up being as a family person. It's God family work. We really try to be very focused together. But we meet every week, and there's not a lot of people in your lives. I don't know if everybody's this way, but for me, that you give permission to call you on your crap.
Yeah.
That they can just say, is that a reason, or is that an excuse?
Yeah.
Wait a second. You said you were going to do that, but you haven't done it. Why? What's going on in your head? And somebody that you can trust and just be totally vulnerable with, and say, you know what, I've had a really bad week, or, this is what my head's been doing, and I'm stuck in that comparison trap this week of, looking at this and wanting to be like this and feeling like a failure because I had 4 deals fall out for contract because of inspection, whatever's going on. But I think it's so important to surround yourself with someone, whether it be a coach or a friend or even a realtor partner, or somebody that you can be real with and that you can absolutely have them. You have to give them permission to hold you accountable. You have to give them permission, and you have to be willing to listen to the hard stuff.
When, if ever, did you give permission but you got your feelings hurt?
Oh, all the time. All the time. All the time.
That's the number one thing you hear people like, yeah, I want to give you permission to keep me accountable. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, but I'm going to hurt your feelings. Like that's
And if you
very
called
cool.
Brian, he would say the same thing,
Yeah.
because the way that we met the first time is we were accountability partners for a coaching group. And we were supposed to get the stuff done, and he hadn't done the whole thing. And I said, well, then that's an F. And he goes, what do you mean that's an F? And I go, well, in this business, in this world, it's A or F. It's pass or fail. We don't get C grades in performance. Honestly, you don't. Either you do it or you don't. And he goes, I don't think I'm going to like you. And it was really funny, because I think he really felt that way for a minute, but I just was very honest. And so then we just became really good friends, because it was like, I'm going to get my stuff done by next week so that I'm not going to get another F. Because let's be honest, we all have egos in this business. We all want to be, check that box, got that done, did that stuff. And so accountability is really important, but it only is important if you can be honest and you're not doing BS to each other and saying, oh, you're so awesome. It's just like coaching. You can have great coaches, but if your coach is always telling you you're awesome, are you really learning anything? Are you really getting any? Iron sharpens iron, which means you have to have some pain in order to have the gain. You always have to have the moment. And I tell my people, you can have a moment, but you cannot live there. And that's what's happening in this industry right now, is people are living in the moment. They're living in the sadness or the frustration or the loss or the negativity. They're living there, and you cannot live there. You don't have a bad day. You have a bad minute in your day, and you choose to, relive it through the whole day and tell 50 million people about your bad day. So now your day has become bad, because now you're vomiting about your bad day to 20 people who now you've made their day bad. So instead of doing that, take a moment and find out, is it a bad day or is it a bad moment? Because we've all had a bad call, right? We've all lost a deal that we've worked really hard on, and came in and they went with a builder who's offering them ridiculous incentives that you can't even come close to. And you lose the deal after working with them for a year to get their credit ready and to be ready. And do you feel punched in the gut when that happens? 100%. But the best way to do it is not to be mean to the client, but to be kind to them and say, you know what? You are making the best decision for your family. I completely honor that. If you would like me to review your docs just to make sure you're getting what you think, if I can serve you in any way, please let me know. I'm going to keep you in my CRM, because rates are going to come down and I want to earn that refinance. And so would it be okay with you that I just keep in touch with you? And I do. I keep in touch with them even up to closing, sending them a congratulatory, note, or sometimes a gift card saying, hey, congratulations on your new home. That's so much better than being pissed off and saying, I can't believe you wasted all my time. But you didn't, because the truth is you still helped a family get into a home. We just didn't get paid for it, but we still helped a family.
I think also, if you really focus on your database, the whole point of your database is adding people.
Loyalty.
It, right? Mm-hmm. And then the ability, one thing that, we initiated a model. So 45 days after closing of a deal that we lost, 45 days after closing for a deal that we lost, the client concierge team calls and reaches out to them and asks them for their first mortgage statement or their closing disclosure. We create them a total cost analysis. We still put them in our HomeBot. We still put them in our sales boomerang, and we roll them out to do the 6-month call and do the annual mortgage review, even though we did not do the mortgage, because I still want access. I still want access to that client's network. I still want access to the client's future deals, and I want access to be able to refer that client to my network, my CPAs, financial advisors, family will attorneys. But if I cut that client off, there's 3 income lanes right there that I just said no, thank you to.
And if you really have the heart to serve, then serve.
Yeah.
Serve them then. And everything, I believe it comes back to you when you do everything with the right heart, when you are there to serve and be honest and straightforward. And sometimes we're not the best deal. Let's be honest. Sometimes we're not. And that's okay. But it doesn't mean that person is less valuable to us, what you're saying. Yeah. That person still has value. That person is somebody that I still want to retain that relationship with and want to be a person that can help guide them into the next steps of their home buying experience. So yeah, and I think that's so important, because I'm a rescue girl. I do a lot of the VA rescues. That's how I've built a lot of my business in different states, is the in-house builders and such that can't make a hard VA loan. I love VA loans. And I love serving military. But if you're gonna specialize in something, This is another little tip for all of you loan officers out there. If you want to specialize in something and make that your deal, then learn it. Learn it backwards, forwards. Learn all the nuances of it. I cannot tell you how many loan officers don't know how to do some of these loans, and they have taken whatever they've been told and said, oh, well, that's the way it is. But it probably is an overlay from the company you worked for before. And you bring that bias with you. And now you're doing a disservice to the customers you're trying to help now, because you're not doing your own recon. You're not reading the guides. You're not asking questions of your underwriter. You're not building relationships with your current team. Hey, can we do all these things? Because there's so much misinformation. I'm sure you find that too
Yeah.
in loan programs and lending as a whole. It's not just VA, but VA just happens to be one of my passions. But it's so frustrating, the misinformation that's out there.
Well, I think also one thing that us old school loan officers, we actually had to print out the VA guidelines or the conventional guidelines and actually study them. And the big difference between, I think, loan officers when I try to teach in our academy is you truly have to, at least for me, print out a guidelines and grab a highlighter and truly start highlighting and underlining and, hey, why is this question, why is this guideline here, why is that there, and you actually need to study it. And I hear a lot of loan officers, well, I read the guidelines. Okay, did you digest what you read? Did you put it in an example? Could it be in a live form that you actually can bring to life? Versus if you're just reading for the sake of reading, none of it's going to register for you.
No, I mean, it's like learning a program when you don't have a deal to put in that program. You're probably not going to retain it unless you have somebody to serve right then. I mean, there's so many programs based off when I first started in this business. A lot of these programs didn't exist. So now you have to be a student again. I mean, I think that's the big thing with us old dogs is we've been around for a really long time, and you can never think that you can stop learning, because there's always something to learn. Guidelines change, new opportunities are out there, and you have to be willing to say, I don't know, but I'm going to find out, and I'm gonna figure it out and see where we can serve you. And if I can't do it, I'll find you somebody who can, because there's a program for just about everybody right now.
I think at the end of the day, you've got to be not only a specialist in your lane, you can't be a generalist. And as you've gone through your career, I'm hearing a niche that you've built into a great business with the VA space. Has that been like your laser focus, or do you ever find yourself in a shotgun where you're good at this, good at that, or have you always been so laser focused?
I mean, I think I've developed my VA passion, one, because I'm a military wife. Number two is that I sit in a military town, and I see the great need for them to be educated and guided rather than just sold. And I feel like so many of our veterans are told no because they don't have a 580 credit score, which is not a VA guide. One of my pet peeves is not being able to know that that's not a VA guide. That's a lender overlay. And so we've closed VA loans from 420 credit scores, 500 credit scores, 540 credit scores. We've done, because you have to know how to put the loan together, because VA is not looking at the credit score, they're looking at the credit history, and they're looking at the reasons why things happened. And so if you're doing a push button get loan, those loans are always going to be kicked to the curb.
Yeah.
But if you are having a conversation with somebody and building a relationship with them and getting their story, and that this is a big thing for loan officers, stop writing your clients' explanations. Stop doing it. It's not your story. Let them write their story. It is so much more powerful when they write their story. Now, you can help guide them and put more detail in and what have you, but when you do the, hi, I was late because of this, I call them the church answers. You're giving the church answers because somebody told you this is what you're supposed to say when you're late. I had a VA buyer. He was a 500 credit score, had been turned down by 8 lenders. And of course, by the time he got to me, he was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't even know why my realtor told me to call you. I'm done. And so then you have to build relationship, and you have to say, well, what if?
Yeah.
What if this could be the one? And so then he wanted to give me his old explanations. And I'm like, nope, I don't want any of that. I want to start scratch. I want you to tell me first your story. Tell me your story of what happened.
Yeah.
He had the most tragic story, but his letter of explanation was so bad. It was just so generic. And I said, you need to tell that story. And he goes, I'm not really comfortable telling a story. And I go, I understand, but you're trying to buy a $300,000 or $400,000 home with no money down. and you're trying to show the underwriter that this was out of your control. And the only way you can do that is to tell your story, because the paperwork doesn't tell the story. And so told a story. His loan got approved in 20 days. And he and his family have moved into this home. And we still get pings every couple months from them going, hey, I just wanted to let you know we were planting flowers in the garden this spring. And I just want you to know we wouldn't have a garden if you hadn't helped us. And it's, again, it wasn't no magic. It was pause, talk, document, present.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we skip some steps sometimes and go on autopilot. And it's a very big disservice, especially to our military families.
Well, let's go deeper on that, because I think you're really hitting the nail on the head around that. So if a loan officer wants to create a niche, like you create a niche, obviously you've got a passion that fuels that niche with veterans, and you've got a passion to help and serve. If a loan officer is listening to this right now, how did they build that passion for that niche, or how did you build your passion for that niche?
For me, I'll just tell you my story is that when my husband and I bought our first home, and yes, I was in the mortgage business, but I was like just the receptionist or maybe a junior processor at the time, so I didn't know anything. But our first mortgage was not VA. Our lender did not even offer us a VA mortgage. And so, you know, getting a little more experience and then finding out, well, wait a second, we could have done a VA and not had any money down, and we could have gotten in, instead of putting the 10% down and all that stuff, in our first home. And back then rates were like 12 or 13%. So that would have been a really lovely thing for us to be able to do. I was angry. I was angry that somebody that we went to be the expert didn't even give us an opportunity. Just said, we're going to put you in this loan, this deal, but no questions asked. No, you know, it's just like, here you go. Again, even back then, which is a long time ago, probably 35 years ago, they didn't ask the questions about how they could best help me. So that's a lesson number one for loan officers. You got to get to know your client, and you got to ask all the right questions. And you can't just do, where do you work? You can't be the robot. You have to say, tell me about you. You know, do you have any military service? Have you always lived in the area? Tell me about your family. Have you owned a home before? You know, great. What was that experience like? What are you looking for in a home? What's the most important? It's a Todd Duncan question. What's the most important thing to you about your mortgage? You know, what's the most important thing to your family? And I think that when you don't ask those open-ended questions and you're not really listening, you miss an opportunity to specialize. There's a lot of people who are really great non-QM people. So they hear the words, I'm self-employed. I really work my taxes in a great way where I don't have to pay taxes, so I write everything off. They start hearing those trigger words that tell them, hey, this will be a great 1099 loan, or this will be a great bank statement loan, because you're hearing their hardships of what they've struggled with, or maybe they are telling you up front, I don't have this, and so you have to find a different way. But again, you can't just check box and move on. You have to ask better questions. You have to get to know your client in a better way. What documents? You have to review your documents. Another one of my pet peeves is loan officers don't review their documents. Review your freaking documents. You know, it's like you have one job, and that is to get the loan and craft an answer, a yes, a solve for yes for them.
Yeah.
Then you use your team to do follow-up and what have you. But you have a responsibility to be sure that you're setting that story straight and that you are putting it on the right path. And a lot of loan officers don't do that. And because of that, they don't build a relationship with their client, and they don't have smooth closings because it's very bumpy because they didn't stop to ask the questions. So you want to specialize. What do you want to specialize in? And you really have to have a passion. If you're going to be a military VA lender, then you really need to have passion, and you have to care, and you have to not try to do it because you're going to make more money, because that is total disservice to our military families. Yeah. I mean, we do things differently. I make less money on my VA loans because I waive all my lender fees. I help them get the very best rates. You know, if you do things to help get them into a yes, that's what you do. If that's your heart, that's a great book of business for you to go after, because they really do need that help and coaching and that love to help them find the best answers. And no is an acceptable answer as long as you give them a path to yes. I was going to say, so it doesn't have to be VA. It can be first-time home buyers. It can be, you know, but pick what your heart. But mine came from me being angry from somebody not doing what I felt like they should have done for my family.
Do you know Renee Rodriguez at all?
I love Renee.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm hearing a lot of ethos, and I'm hearing a lot of amplify in your words, which is super cool, because the evolution of Leslie, in my eyes, you now have your voice, and it's no one else's voice. It's no one else's image or label. I love the self-confidence of your personal mission, and you're doing such a beautiful job articulating it where it's a digestible way to emotionally connect with where your past has and where the future goes.
You're kind. Thank you. But I think it's very true. I think there's a maturity level. I mean, if you ask me in my first 15 years of the mortgage business, was I a great leader? I'm going to tell you no. I was very competitive. I wanted to win. Numbers, I wanted to be in the rankings. I always cared about my rankings. And, that was really important to me. And so wasn't, in my opinion, not a really great leader. I mean, I still loved people. I was probably not a great leader. I just wasn't, I was more of a boss than I was a leader.
Yeah.
Getting in some great coaching. I mean, I know you and I both believe in coaching and coaching with great people. And I've coached with Cindy Ertman. I love Cindy. Mm-hmm. Cindy has really helped me find my voice and being confident enough to know that what we do matters, what we are matters. And you find your passion and go for it. Don't sit on the sidelines waiting for someone else to say it's okay. Go for it. Be who you're supposed to be, whether that be in the company that you work with or the team you work with. If you want to build your own team, but you have to know who you are and what your why is and what your passion is so that you can then lead other people, because you can't do it just to win and just to make money. And just, our business is changing so much. Yeah. And if we're not changing with it, I mean, I'm aging again, the Gumby. I'm very flexible. I will go, I will learn, I will be. I mean, somebody asked what my CRM was. It's I bought Shape. I don't know who you use, but I bought Shape is who I've used because it will help me do online campaigns and such like that. So I finally hired somebody for social media, because you'll know that I really suck at social media. But I really have decided to just be authentically me. I can't be anybody else. It's just like, I'm always comparing, and I'm trying really hard not to, because I know that that's not what I'm supposed to do. But I want to be very me, and that means I want to help people. And so I'm going to just say, here's how I can help you, and here's did you know kind of stuff. And I know you're great at that and have been for 20 plus years, but I'm still that baby infant on the social platform, because it's just like you again get in your head, gap of crap, why you don't do it. Why you don't put video, why you don't do video text. It's all in your head. It's not, nobody cares.
Did you see I don't know if you saw it or not, you see the post I made last night?
Yes, in the rain. I loved it. Well, and that was so funny, that the book you're reading.
I know, isn't that crazy? Embrace the suck. But one thing I want to make sure like loan officers understand is I got like 13 private messages, multiple comments, multiple texts, and all the 80% of the texts and private messages and messages that I got were like referral partners. And it's some I work with, some I don't work with. I mean, I said one is, I think he's number 4 biggest realtor in DFW texts me, and he's like, hey, I'm out rucking. This is my it's not raining, but he was just, and I haven't talked to this guy in like 2 years.
But you related.
We related, right? But I think to me, I use social media as a tool, not a toy. But I use it as a way for it to be my microphone out there of creating influence. And if I create influence, I become attractive. If I become attractive, then I can grow in their world and grow a partnership with them.
And encourage people. You're a good encourager. And I think when you can encourage someone, if you're out there right now and you're struggling as a loan officer, I'm telling you, don't give up. Pivot into something else. Become an expert in something and go out there and make your calls and ask how you can serve realtors, build realtor relationships, build financial planner relationships, CPA relationships, insurance relationships, and find out how can I help you with your business? Because when you give first, it is a much easier ask. Yeah. When you're there to serve.
Well, also, I don't know how your bank account works, but the way that mine works, I've got to make a deposit before I can take a withdrawal. And so many loan officers try to take a withdrawal before they ever make a deposit.
Or they come in and show up and throw up with, here's all the things I can do for you, without even asking what they need.
And that's something so simple that when I ask a loan officer that question, I don't know how your bank account works, but the way mine works, I've got to put money in it before I take money out of it. So the same thing, like you've got to give them a referral before you can pull out another referral back. And I think once you have that mindset shift that I've got to give to get, and I've got to give first to be able to get,
Right.
it's an absolute game changer. And it puts you in a position that there's a phenomenal book called The Go Giver,
Love
and
it.
amazing book, right? And the ability to be able to share your heart, share your heart, share your heart, receive, share your heart, share your heart, share your heart, receive. It's an amazing way to do business, but it's an amazing way to feel fulfilled to do life through business.
There's a book, also a very old book called Halftime. I think Bob Buford is it's an old book, like probably get it for 50 cents on the on the book. But the first half of your life you spend trying to make a living,
Yeah.
providing for your family, raising kids, what have you. Then you get to halftime, and I'm halftime, or even a little past halftime. The next piece of your life, you work to build a life of significance. And that is giving to others to help them be better. And I think people like you and I who've been in the business a really long time, there's a responsibility for us to help train up the next generation of people who are going to serve in this industry, because we cannot be Autobots.
Yeah.
We cannot, AI cannot do what we do. I don't care what you're hearing. AI is a tool, and AI cannot be you as long as you bring value.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I love it. All right. So we got a couple, 2 more minutes. I want you to give closing thoughts for loan officers that you want to touch their heart, loan officers that you want to inspire, loan officers that are out there struggling. What is like a minute or 2 minutes that you want to share from your heart for them to really embrace?
First of all, you are better than you think you are. And when you are comparing to 2017 numbers, that's not realistic, or 2020 numbers, or whatever, just comparing it all. The fact that we're still in the business needs to be, you give yourself grace. I think we are beautifully and wonderfully made people. And I think that if you will really live your life in joy and in giving, then you will find that fulfillment. And then the finances come. I think it's so hard to put finances first right now, because it is harder than it used to be. And there are more struggles, but come with the joy, come with the hope, come with the help. And then the finances do come. I'm a big person in faith, and I believe you have to sow your crop. You have to take care of it. You cannot plant and harvest on the same day. So many loan officers are not planting anymore. They're just trying to harvest.
Yeah.
And you can't do that. You've got to plant. You've got to weed the garden. Not everybody's your customer. And that's okay. That's okay. When you lose a customer, sometimes it's like, thank you. Thank you. Let me concentrate on the next opportunity. Be present. Don't go look for a job. You have a job. Work 40 hours here. And I know that maybe you work 30 hours. I don't care, but come to work in the morning, set your morning practices, be disciplined in your morning practices, whether it be gym, whether it be, your prayer time, whether it be scripture time. I have a journaling time, whether reading time, but have specific things that you set that start every morning the same way. A couple things happen, your mindset shifts. And if you find yourself in a funk, go write somebody a thank you note. Anybody. Somebody you work with, a customer, a realtor, it doesn't matter, friend, write a thank you note, because you cannot be in gratitude and be in a funk. So go out there and do that. Put some powerful music on, come up with your mantra song, go out there and walk, get outside. We don't spend enough time in the beautiful outdoors with the vitamin D. We all need vitamin D. So get out there and do that, and then execute your day. But you can't execute your day at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and then get results. You just can't. Come to work, be focused. And if you want a little trick, if you want to know what calls you need to make, by that afternoon, you should make a list for who you're going to call tomorrow morning.
Yep.
And it should already be done, because then you can't talk yourself out of, I don't know who to call, because you've already made the list. You've already made their phone numbers. And here's a little trick, because you all are going, I don't even know what to say. Write the first 3 sentences of what you're going to say to those phone calls, because that way you can go into conversation. Yeah. Rather than, hey, Wally, it's Leslie. How are you? First of all, I don't care how Wally is, and Wally doesn't care how I think he is. So we need to quit asking, how are you, to people that we don't talk to all the time.
Yeah.
One of my pet peeves is when somebody calls me and says, how am I? And I'm like, I don't even know who you are. Why am I going to tell you how I am? So instead, come with, hey, the purpose of my call is, I drove by one of your listings and I was wondering, is that home still for sale? Are you still trying to sell it? What have you found to be your challenge? Is there something that I can do as a lender that might help you put together something to help you get some activity on that? Now, see, that's a value call versus a, hi, Will you think of me in your next deal? Don't ask for something, give something. And that's just like you were saying, go first, deposit first, and then you get the retention. But first of all, get yourself focused around positive people. If you are not around a positive environment, I will tell you, extract yourself from that group, even if it's your top realtor, and find yourself really positive people, because there's so much opportunity and growth here. And if you're aligned and around the wonderful people that are in this business, I feel so blessed every day. I am connected with some amazing people. I mean, again, we don't work every day together, but when we see each other, it's like, hey, tell me something good. Tell me something that's great, and tell me something I can pray for you. I mean, I still remember Nikki talking about collecting sand, and every time I'm at a beach, I think of her. I think of, oh, I wonder if Nikki's still collecting sand at all the different beaches. But I think when you get to know people in a personal way, whether it be your realtors or your accountability partners, and you have a personal interest in them, people will take a personal interest in you.
Absolutely awesome. I could not have said it any better. And Leslie, thank you so much for taking
the time. It's a privilege to be here. Thank you.
Time out of your day to be here for sure. So 24/7 Mindset community, watch this again. A lot of great wisdom and take a lot of great notes. If there's anything that you want to reach out to Leslie on, you can find her on social. Anything that I can do to help and serve, definitely you can find me on social. All right, guys. Thank you so much. So thank you so much for listening today. It means a lot you took time out of your day. I don't take that lightly. Understand very clearly that you're very busy. With that being said, if you want to continue your journey and learn more about 24/7 Mindset, if you're on Facebook, which I'm going to guess you are, then go to 24/7 Mindset on Facebook and join the private community. I do coaching tips on there on a daily basis, but from scripts on there to systems on there, models, and the ability to be able to grow and scale a business while you have a quality of life. Hope to see you there.